Afternoon, Cherries fans, and welcome to the latest in our opposition preview shows here at Up the Cherries in all departments. Ahead of the game against Barnsley, the Tykes managed to beat us 3-2 at Dean Court last season. But with a new manager at the helm, how have they fared so far this season? To preview this game, it's a pleasure to welcome back onto the show a familiar face in Doug O'Kane from the Barnsley Chronicle. Afternoon, Doug. How are you?
Hi, Craig. Yeah, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, very well, mate. Very, very well. So firstly, let's start with last season and the incredible rise under Valérien Ismaël. Do Barnsley fans feel the season was a success, or do you feel that you could have reached Wembley and gone one better?
Definitely a success. Incredible season, really. And they'd survived by, in the last seconds of the previous season, they had one of the lowest budgets in the league, and they hadn't finished in the top 6 of the championship for more than 2 decades. So it was a historic, brilliant season. The only shame was that the fans weren't there, but everyone who watched it on iFollow, I think, will remember that season and various wins, Bournemouth being one of the most probably memorable for many, many years to come. Obviously, there's a bit of disappointment that they couldn't get to the Premier League, because that would have been completely to change everything for the club and the town, probably. But I think most people just think there's an incredible achievement to do what they did.
Yeah, most definitely. And Barnsley were very, very well drilled last season. You know, was really impressed with the side. And Valérien Ismaël has shown and proven, especially with his start at West Brom as well, you know, what good manager he is. But of course, the new manager in charge is Marcus Schott. Do tell us a little bit more about him.
Yeah, well, like Ismaël, he had a very successful playing career. Played more than 50 times for Austria, which is where he's from, including in the '98 World Cup. He played in the top flight in Germany and in Austria, and he also had a spell with Brescia in Serie A. He played alongside Pep Guardiola and Baggio as well, Roberto Baggio, and then got into coaching mainly in Austria and in part of the Red Bulls setup, and then various clubs as well. And Barnsley looked to that part of Europe to recruit coaches. I think the last 3 coaches have come from Austria, and the one before that was from Germany. They see that it's played the kind of pressing football, that they want in their team, and that's the overall philosophy of the club. And they feel that they can find good value coaches there who will come in and fit well at Oakwell. So he's another one of them, really. And he's very early days, but he seems to have made a decent impression so far at the club.
And has the style of play changed, or has Schott continued what worked so well for Ismaël?
Yeah, it's very different, actually. Within that sort of pressing, counter-attacking style, it is quite different in terms of how they approach that. Ismaël was very much a direct manager. He called it vertical football, quite a lot of long balls. I think the most long balls in the division last season. And very much, once you get it, just launch it forward. And yeah, they played decent football. They had it in and around the box. Like, I think they scored a good goal at Bournemouth to make it 2-2 last season. So it wasn't all just lumping it and just big headers and no skill. But it was certainly a fairly direct approach, where it was the shot, pass out back, and that's worked. And it's been a bit hit and miss, but it has started to sort of bear fruit in the last few games, and they're much more possession-based, build up, patiently kind of team, and still with the pressing and the intense counter attacks. But it's a very different style, which is obviously going to take time. I think the players probably are equipped to play that style, but it's obviously a pretty big transition. So it's unsurprising it's going to take a few games to really get into that rhythm.
And of course, Alex Mowatt has left the club to follow Ismail to West Brom. How big a loss is he? He's taken on the captaincy.
Yeah, it's a very big loss. He was an outstanding player for Barnsley for 3 seasons, and him going means that Barnsley have a very, very young midfielder. They wanted to recruit someone a bit older, or Shop certainly did, to replace him with a bit more experience, but they've ended up with 4 central midfielders who are all 21 or 22, which is pretty unheard of in the Championship, but they're extremely talented. So that's the sort of philosophy of the club, really, to develop youth players. So we'll have to see how they go. Mowatt, he created a lot. He scored a lot of goals, and he was that sort of reliable central midfielder and leader as well. So he will be hard to replace, definitely. But there's some real talent in there. And Corley Woodrow, who's been another senior player and obviously a prolific goal scorer for the club, and he stepped up into the captaincy, and he seems to have taken to that role well. So, it's a bit too early to judge how much of a miss he's going to be, but obviously he was an excellent player for Barnsley, so he will be hard to replace.
Do tell us a little bit more about this Barnsley side. Has there been that many changes from last season?
Yeah, there's been a few changes. Not many. They've brought in 6 players, but quite a few of them haven't made their debuts yet. And as we discussed, they lost Mowatt, but importantly, they didn't sell anyone, which is very, very unusual for Barnsley. In some windows, I think it's the first time since 2012 they haven't sold any of their starting lineup. So it's a kind of commitment to keeping this team together as much as possible. They brought in the only sort of signing who's really played so far is Josh Benson, who's coming from Burnley. He's looked really good in central midfield. They've got 3 or 4 really talented centre mids, and really good on the ball. So hopefully they'll catch the eye down on the south coast tomorrow. And they signed a couple of Belgian strikers whose debuts were frustratingly delayed by visa problems, but they've both got their visas now, and at least one of them, Aaron Leiraseka, is due to make his debut probably off the bench tomorrow at Bournemouth. And he's, from all accounts, an exciting player. He's been really good in training, so I think Barnsley fans are really looking forward to seeing him play. So there's quite a lot to be excited about. I think just generally it's seen as a team that has made a sort of hit and miss start to the season, but there's players coming back from injury. There's players who've had visa problems coming into the side, and some other new signings as well. So, and also they're developing to this style of play. So it's kind of a team that will get better. That's the theory anyway. I think that makes a lot of sense.
And of course, you know what I'm going to ask you next, Doug. This is the one question that I ask everybody. How do you think it's going to go tomorrow?
I think that Bournemouth style will probably suit Barnsley. They're good against. I haven't seen a great deal of Bournemouth, but with Scott Parker in charge, I imagine they're sort of not a sort of long ball merchant kind of team, and they're direct team, so they're more passing the ball out and can be pressed, and that's the kind of team that Barnsley really enjoy playing against. They did it brilliantly at QPR, who were a bit like that a couple of weeks ago, and went 2-0 up and were incredible in the first half, but just lost their way a bit in the second half and ended up drawing 2-2. So I think Barnsley can cause them a lot of problems. Whether they'll get the win again like last year, I'm not too sure. So I'll go for 2-2 draw.
Yeah, I think off the back of the result last season, I've got to agree with that. We've drawn our last 2 against both Hull and Blackpool. So games where you thought we would win, but just haven't been able to get the result. But so I reckon probably going to be another draw on the cards, and then gradually build up. I believe there were quite a few players as well on international break. So yeah, I'm probably going to agree with you on that one, Doug. But thank you again for coming on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure, mate. As always.
Thanks for having me.
That's all right. No problem at all, mate.
Cheers.
And thank you, everybody, for joining us on this opposition preview show. Please do remember to hit the like, subscribe, and the bell button to be alerted to any new videos we do. Till the next one, up the Cherries, and I'll see you then. Thank you. you.